Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Obsessed by Everything Bravo. My name is Meredith, and I am your host. And we are talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 2, Episode 10, Your Face or Mine. Mm, uh, I don't know. These titles aren't doing it for me. Not the way that the New Jersey ones were. Oh my God, those were the best. But this is a longer episode today, or there's a lot that's happening. So let's just dive into it. So first of all, Paul is having now. Here's what's strange to me. Adrian just had a spa party where they all got really intense beauty treatments, right? I mean, they got a hydrofacial. They were doing all kinds of stuff, massages, um, all kinds of beauty treatments, infrared, pedicures, manicures, whatever. And now Paul is also hosting a beauty night, but he's doing like Botox and filler. Anyway, Kyle stops by and it's Paul's night of beauty. And she says he'll periodically host a beauty night. So some of his friends, and I would assume like his good clients, can try out new treatments that are available. And Kyle wants to have a procedure done on her love handles, of which she has no love handles. This woman is thin. I don't know what her deal is. I mean, I get it. She's in LA. There's a lot of pressure. No love handles, babe. But what's funny is it's that laser thing. Remember Kim Zolciak had that? And she was like laying on her stomach and she was eating pizza. And then that laser thing was like on her butt. It's the same thing. So I guess there is some merit into it if Paul is using it in his office. And Lisa wants to go sit with Kyle, but then the lady takes her into the wrong room and it's Taylor's room. And they're like, oh, hi. Hi. It's like this most awkward greeting. And then, so Taylor's getting filler on her face because now she she's getting filler on her face to fill out her face because she's so thin. And Lisa's like, why don't you just eat instead of getting filler on her face? Now, it's at this point, it's annoying me how much Lisa talks about how Taylor needs to eat and focused on Taylor's eating. And I think, Kyle has the right of it because it's like you can't force someone to eat. And telling them to constantly eat is just actually going to make them feel bad and kind of push them away. It's annoying. Just let her be. Like let the woman be. If it gets to the point where you're in a medical crisis, then take her to the hospital, and they'll give her an IV. But we're not there yet. She's just extremely thin. Whatever. And Lisa's not getting anything done because she has to go to a work dinner after this party. So she's just kind of hanging out. Kim is going to come to this, and we see her leaving her house. And she says, oh, I love Paul and Adrian. I wouldn't have missed this. What do you mean? Because you missed the barbecue. On the way there, Paul calls and is like, well, where are you? Because I'm assuming that everybody had time slots, just kind of like the way it works. And then they start doing the consultation over the phone. She's just like talking a mile a minute. And she's like, well, I just want to get this done and I want to get that done and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, like, he has to look at you. I mean, I know that he's seen you before, but he's not going to be able to do this by memory. Like, recommend treatments by memory of what you look like. And she says that she wants to get lip filler, but she's embarrassed because of what she said to Taylor last year and what she's referring to the dinner party from hell when she told Taylor to like blow her lips up some more. Which yeah, Taylor uses too much filler. Um and so anyway, there's that conversation. But I just thought it was funny that he was doing like she was like talking about all this stuff while she's on the phone, and I'm like, babe, just wait till you get there. Like, tell him what you want, and then wait till you get there. He can't answer you without looking at your face. Okay, then we find out because Kyle and Lisa are talking that Camille is not coming to this event because just this day Kelsey has filed for primary custody of their kids. Now, and this is also after Camille was kind of hinting that her son was not doing very well because of all the disruption in their family and moving around and all kinds of stuff. And so now Kelsey wants to disrupt his life some more and take him away across country away from his mother. What are you talking about? So Kyle and Lisa call her and she's like, I've just basically been with my attorneys all day and that she was okay. She's just really upset. And she's like, you just don't get to like leave your family and then try to call all the shots. And she's totally right. And also, they're already like he's already married. You don't get to like readjust your custody. Like the custody is you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. If you wanted your kids, you should have fought for them in the divorce, but you didn't want to because you wanted to marry this new lady, and you don't get to change the thing just because you want to. And it's just like this other form of control. And it's like, and maybe you were wondering like why we hate Kelsey so much. Well, this is it. Because if you're going to leave your family for another woman, that's if you're going to cheat on your wife, you're going to leave your family, that's one thing. But this is absolutely the lowest of the low cruel. And not to say that like not to say that I'm okay with cheating. I'm just saying like everybody on the planet is, it seems like, has done it. But going after Camille, like after everything's said and done, and going after her in a way just because he knows it's going to hurt her the most, is cruel and despicable. Kelsey is just like literally the worst of the worst, and it makes me sad that I enjoyed Cheers all those years ago or whatever was his spinoff. I don't know. I love that show where they were like these hoity-toity and they live with their dad, who was like some like just like a regular cop. They had that little dog. Anyway, um, then Lisa turns to Kyle and she's like, I got an email from Russell today. Did you get an email? Because it was weird. And it's weird because like also he doesn't talk to me. I've never gotten an email before. And she reads the email and it says like, here's the real story. So you don't have to worry. We have not split up. We are very much in love and have no idea how these stories about us keep coming out in the press. We are very much in love and our business is up 900%. And she's like, why is he sending this to me? Did you get one? She's like, I'm totally confused. And she's like, all the stories that I'm hearing around town is that, they're breaking up. And like, maybe I get that he wants to, show that they aren't breaking up, but is it because I've been trying to help her? Kyle tells us that she thinks that Russell sent Lisa the email because he thinks that Lisa is behind all the stories getting out. But she's like, I want to stay like neutral between this fight with them. I'm not going to get in the middle of it. So I'm not going to talk about it. So now Kim arrives. They're having small talk. They're talking about Pandora's party. And Kim was like, well, I was just packing up and, like packing the house up, which is like, she moved a year ago. Like the moving is one of the most stressful times, and you just moved. And I get it. She's saying her house is too big. It's too far away. It just seems so weird. So then Lisa's like, oh, well, where are you moving to? And Kim literally won't say. That's weird, right? And she tells us that she doesn't want to tell Kyle anything yet. What? Like you're not telling your sister where you're moving to? This is so fucked up. Like, I don't know. What if you had a heart attack and die? Like Kyle wouldn't know where you were. I don't know. Um and also we haven't seen hide or hair of Kathy. And so Kathy is a fixture on the Housewives now. She's a friend of. She was at BravoCon. I purchased stuff for her I know I didn't want to say earlier in case they heard, but this will come out after everybody's already had all their gifts. I purchased these little bag charms, from Kathy Hilton. She had a booth there. They were so pretty. It was like all this. She had a bunch of jewelry too. Everything was super reasonably priced. They actually interviewed us for like her Instagram, so maybe go check that out. I don't know. I never saw us on it, but anyway, Kathy is like on the Housewives now. She's a friend of, and she just pops up in there. but she is never on when Kim was on. We've never seen on the Housewives the dynamic of all three of the sisters. And for me, I feel like when two of them are good, there's always one on the outs. That's just how I feel that how their relationships work. But I'd be very curious to know if Kathy knew what was going on. Kyle tells us that every time Kim avoids saying where she is going, she just keeps this feeling that she's not moving any closer. The reality is, that Kim is moving in with Ken, but she doesn't want to say that yet. So that's the big secret. But we don't know that yet. So then Kyle is like, "Well, you haven't RSVP'd. You're the only one who has an RSVP to the seance." Like, seance. And she's like, "Are you coming or not?" And Kyle tells us that she has invited all the women over to her home for a seance, and it's going to be her psychic that she worked with last year. And Kim says that, you know what? I don't know. I just feel so much for the other side. And Kyle's like, Kim says that she has too many spirits and she just doesn't want one to come out. And Kyle's like, "Well, it's no different from when we go to see the psychic. Like, they filmed going to see the psychic last year, so we already know that she's okay with it." And then Kim goes, "Well, it's against my religion." Kyle says, "We go to see Rebecca all the time. It's against your religion." So then Lisa tells us that, Kim has an excuse for everything. And, it's like constant. And you know what? She's absolutely right. This is something that I just can't. This is something that really gets on my nerves when people have an excuse for everything. And they're like, I remember this is something I used to deal with a lot of times when I was my sorority chapter advisor, because for me, I'm like an idea person and I'm not really super great at like the executing of ideas, but I can come up with lots of ideas. I'm creative in that way. And so, we would have problems, or they would come to me a lot of times with like individual issues. And so I would say, in any of these scenarios, I'd be like, "Well, what about this? No, I can't do it because of this." "Okay, well, you can't do it. Okay, what about this way?" "No, can't do it." "What about that way?" "No, don't want to do that." "Okay, what about this way?" "No." And it's driving me nuts. And it's like, okay, so what I'm hearing is you just don't want to get the goal or do the thing. Because and it's just like at some point you just have to be like, okay, whatever. And I think that's kind of where Kyle is at this point. She knows that they're like on thin ice, so she just has to just accept that she has no say in whatever's going on with Kim. And she's just like, okay. So Kim says, "I love that you want me there." And Kyle says, "It seems to me like it's about more than just the seance." Yeah, you think? So now Adrian finally arrives, and I'm assuming she's just here to hang out and not get Botox from her husband that she secretly despises. And she's talking to Kim, who says, "I want to do my lips, but last year I called someone a blowfish." So then Taylor walks out and she's saying her goodbyes. And Lisa's like, "Hey, why is Russell emailing me?" So Taylor's like, "Oh, I don't know." And she's like, "You know what? I don't even have to have time to talk. Maybe, you know what? I'll ask him." And also, he's coming to the seance. And Taylor tells us, she's like, "Well, he sent the email because he had an inkling that Lisa was releasing info to the press. So in his mind, if he thought everything was hunky dory, then she would just relay that message as well." Babe, have you ever heard the term, "if it bleeds, it leads"? They're not putting out good information. So then Paul takes Kim back to do the consult. And then it's like Kim and Kyle go back and forth on whether Kyle's going to go back. And then they're basically like, "No, I don't want you back there." And then Kyle's like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to stay and talk to the other girls." So she tells them that Kim's being weird, doesn't want her input about their new house, doesn't want to go to the seance because it's against religion, but she's okay with getting her lips done. And going to Rebecca is not okay, even though we've already done it multiple times. I get it. It's confusing. So Paul does Kim's. Now, okay, before we go into that, there's sometimes it seems like Kim is pulling away from her family. And to me, that also is waving red flags, because when you're with a bad, narcissistic, controlling man, they're going to want to get you away from their family because they isolate you, right? Um, so she's moving into a home that they don't even know where it is. They've not met this man yet. She's not hanging out with her sister. Now, a big reason why she's not hanging out with her sister is because of what happened last year. But I don't know. Just tuck that in your mind for later. Put a pin in that, right? Okay, so Paul takes Kim back for the consult. They start to go over her med list, and she's taking some pretty intense, like, anxiety, almost antipsychotic meds. I didn't write them down. She said them. I know one of them was like trazodone, which is pretty serious med. And he's basically like, oh, now I get it. He's like, you know what? You probably need to sit down with your GP or your psychiatrist and go over this list with him, because the way that you're mixing medications, some of these are very strong and they can make you slur your words and they can make you seem out of it. He's like, right now you actually look kind of sedated. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, you can't mix alcohol with any of these. And she's like, no, I don't drink. And he's like, look, when we went to Sacramento, I thought you were on something. That's how much these meds are affecting you. And she's like, really? So he wants her to sit down with her doctor and to like go over these meds, because it might be too much. And he's like, this is like the first thing I thought, but he was like, I'm actually even concerned about you driving home. And, Kim tells us that she hopes everyone else doesn't think that she's been drinking and all this stuff, because she's not been drinking. She likes the way that she feels when she doesn't drink, which is great. But, and I think she mentions this later, or maybe she mentioned it when she talked to Kyle or something, but it's basically like, when you're taking these, psychiatric medications, even just antidepressants, for one, they don't work right away. You have to give it time. And two, sometimes you have to just like keep adjusting things, dosages, until you do get it correct. So it can take months to a year, or maybe even longer, to really get everything correct. And so when you're adding 2 and 3 of these medications together and then they interact, can be a bad time. The other thing is, and please hear me on this, just like for anybody here, when you're taking medications like this, even antidepressants, you cannot stop them cold turkey in high doses. Okay. So for anyone who's taking anxiety meds, antidepressants, do not ever stop them cold turkey. Talk to your doctor and wean off of them. Okay. That's just a real big safety issue. And that is my PSA for the day. So now the other 3 ladies are chatting, and Adrian is like, what's going on with Taylor and Russell? Because Taylor's already left, right? And she's like, why are they saying they're happy? Which I'm like, did you get an email too? And Kyle says, maybe they feel like their happiness in their marriage is nobody's business. And so Adrian is like, well, how did that story get out that they broke up? And Kyle goes, well, somebody leaked the story. And then Lisa says, well, neither her nor Kim nor Camille are close to Taylor. And Kyle goes, no, Camille and Taylor go out to lunch. But then Lisa's like, no, Camille told me that she never sees Taylor. Okay, so this conversation is very important. And I know it sounds stupid. It's very important moving forward. So Lisa's making the point of, well, we don't really know Taylor, so it's not us leaking this information, because how would we leak anything? We don't know anything about it. And it's, neither me nor Kim nor Camille know anything about her relationship, so we're not leaking stories, if that's what you're implying. That's what this is. And Kyle's trying to say, no, they're friends, and Lisa's saying, no, I talk to Camille all the time, and Camille doesn't see Taylor. Okay. And that's, she's like, she told me she doesn't see Taylor. Okay. So that's where that goes. So Lisa Vanderpump leaves, and then Adrian and Kyle go into Kim's treatment room, and everyone is kind of joking around, but then Kim and Kyle start to bicker about what Kim is going to do, and she gets upset. And so Kyle just like leaves. This is like, these people are always fighting. Oh my God. It's so stressful. Okay, so now we go over to Kyle's, and she's getting ready. because later that day, everybody's coming over to the seance. She calls Brandy to personally invite her. And basically she's like, I know I extended the invite to Adrian to invite you, but I just wanted to make sure that you feel comfortable coming over. And Brady's like, yeah, thank you. Actually, thank you for calling me. That really means a lot. And then Sophia happened to be in there when Kyle was making this phone call. And she's like, what, like asking Kyle what's going on. And she's like, the same fights that you get into with your friends, my friends go through all this too. It was really kind of a sweet moment, but also like basically like, don't expect anybody to mature. So right after this happens, after Kyle has gotten out of the shower, her hair's still wet, she's in a robe, Taylor comes over, and I'm thinking this is hours before the party. I'm thinking, oh, she came over a little bit early. No, this is way before. And she said, I'm so mad at Lisa right now because she's going around town telling everyone that I don't have friends. She doesn't know if she can get through the night without saying anything. Oh, wait, sorry. So Taylor doesn't know if she can get through the night without saying anything. So basically, Taylor tells us that Lisa called Camille and said Taylor doesn't have friends. Now, here's what I'm actually thinking happened. Is Lisa called Camille right after she left that party, or maybe the next day, and was like, hey, have you been hanging out with Taylor? And Camille probably told her whatever she told her, like, yes, no, we had lunch one time. And then why? And then Lisa was probably like, well, we're kind of being implicated in leaking stories. But I said that, you guys weren't really that close, and I don't know her that well, and Kim doesn't know her that well. So it couldn't be us because we're not actually friends with her. That's what I'm assuming Lisa said. This is what I'm assuming Lisa said. Somehow that information got turned around and twisted, and it could have only come from Camille, right? Unless Lisa went around and was saying stuff to other people, but and that could be true as well. Or someone told her, like Adrian, or it wouldn't be Kyle, because why was she coming and telling her this? So maybe Adrian said, well, Lisa said you weren't friends with Camille. I don't know. I don't know which one of these things, how it happened, but Taylor's basically says that she's calling people to talk about her, and it hurt her feelings so badly. Kyle says, well, why don't you just tell her that hurt you? And Taylor's like, she scares me because when she gets angry at someone, I mean, look at what she's done with Cedric. I don't want her going around town being mean to me. I've done nothing but be kind to her and try to get her to like me. Bitch, when? When have you ever tried to get Lisa to like you? I don't understand this thought process. Like she's literally gaslighting herself into believing that she is doing anything more than just being acquaintances with Lisa. And after what she did to Cedric, what do you mean? Do you mean when they told Cedric, hey, you've been literally living with us for like 5 years and it's time for you to get your own home and your own car and your own job? And he went crazy and said that he didn't care if any of them died. And so Lisa cut him off totally out of his life. Are you going to be doing that? Because if you're not doing that, then I don't think you're going to have any problem. This whole thing is so strange and contrived. So, Kyle says maybe the problem is that Lisa, this is very important. This one little line that she says is going to really come back and bite Kyle. But Lisa says maybe the problem is that she likes to prey on weak people. Ugh. Now, I would not agree that Lisa likes to prey on weak people. What I would agree to, and I feel like what we've seen example Cedric, and what we'll see example when we start doing Vanderpump Rules the next couple of seasons, is she likes to find little broken birds and take care of them and sort of recruit them for an army for her, if that makes sense. So it's not necessarily like she wants to prey on weak people, but she's smart and she can identify weak people that she can recruit. Okay? So again, conversations that need to be put a pin in. And I will say, like, my eyes have been opened so much because there's there was so much Lisa Vanderpump slander for so long, and I never saw it. And I'm almost like, why are they doing this? Why are they being so mean to Lisa as someone who is a Lisa lover, you know? And I do love Lisa. I have some issues with her now. But we'll talk about that when we talk about Vanderpump Rules. It doesn't have anything to do with Housewives. Um, but watching it back now, I'm like, okay, you know what? I actually can see it. But like when I was watching it originally, I was always just like confused. But it's because of little things like this, like like who says your best friend likes to prey on weak people? I mean, that's crazy. What it boils down to as well is Lisa Vanderpump was the breakout star. So this is very similar to the Bethany situation. That Lisa Vanderpump was the breakout star. Camille was the villain, right? Um, Everybody liked Kyle as like the girl next door. And Lisa Vanderpump, because she's funny, because she's cheeky, she's obviously rich, beautiful, and well liked, and also victimized by Cedric a little bit. Lisa Vanderpump would be the breakout star. Everybody loved Lisa Vanderpump. I still do, you know. She's still the queen. I mean, she was at BravoCon as well because she still has Vanderpump Rules. She has, you know, she has a show on Hulu. I mean, she's still reality TV royalty, right? And so what that does is opens up new opportunities for Lisa Vanderpump that may not be open for the other ladies. So very, very, very similar to Bethany. So there's lots of jealousy that's floating around. Okay. So saying that you're scared because she's mean, I've literally never seen Lisa be mean to anyone. Now, like to where you're scared of her. Like, what do you think she's going to do? Release information to the tabloids? You already think she's doing that. So what do you mean? Okay. So Kyle says, let me go back and just read all of that again. Kyle says maybe the problem is because she preys on weak people and you need to stand up and to her and speak up for yourself because maybe like basically show her that you're a strong person and maybe being around all other people, it wouldn't be such a big deal because Lisa just doesn't take criticism well. And then Taylor leaves. So they have this conversation and an odd conversation that's really going to come back and bite Kyle in the ass. Because obviously when Lisa sees the show, she's not going to like that she said that about her. But don't worry, Kyle makes it worse. Okay, so now it's a couple hours later. Rebecca comes over and she's reading the energy of the house. Remember, this is their new home. And she has this, like, I don't know, Geiger counter thing, but it's like for spiritual energy. And she's like, oh, she's talking to Maurice and she's like, there's already visitors here. And then Bernie is doing the food for the party. And he never like misses a moment to give a jab about Lisa Vanderpump. I don't even know what he said, but he was just like, Lisa Vanderpump. And this is what I'm saying. Like, why is Lisa Vanderpump catching strays from the fucking Bernie? It's just so weird. Like, why does he hate her so much? So then Lisa stops by and she's like, oh, or she's coming to the thing. Everybody's coming but Kim. And she's like, oh, I've never seen the new house. And she tells us that she doesn't really believe in psychics, but she's up for a fun party. Faye's already there at the bar and she goes, oh, I'm so glad there was another morally corrupt person here. I love her recall to the morally corrupt Faye Resnick. So they hug and Taylor arrives. Brandy's on her crutches and Adrienne tells us she isn't sure what to think about a seance. She's a little nervous. Then finally Camille arrives with one of her friends. Now this is not Dee Dee, but it's her other friend that's she hangs around with even last year, her blonde friend. And Camille said she's excited to get a reading, but she remembers the last time that she went to a dinner party with a psychic. It didn't go well. And of course, now we're reminded of the dinner party from hell. Kyle tells us that the last time Faye and Camille were together with a psychic reading, things did not go well, but things are going to go better tonight because her psychic isn't crazy. So then they all go sit down for the seance and there's like candles and crystals. And Rebecca says, look, all this is about is good energy. It's not scary. And she's like, I need to start right away because there's a George here. And George is adamant that he talks to his daughter and it ends up being Adrian's dad. And she tells us that her father died when she was young and it left a big hole in her heart. And Rebecca says, you know what? You've been a boss in many lifetimes, so being a boss is easy for you, but your brothers might not like it because it comes so easy for you. And they have more conversation, and Adrian says it was wonderful to hear all the things about her dad. And she starts getting choked up, which is interesting because Adrian really doesn't get like personal or emotional at all, but this just like really did it for her. And then, so everybody's going to get our reading. Brandy has 4 angels holding her up because someone in her family did a lot of good deeds and all their good karma is coming to her. And then she says, you're going to have another baby. It's going to be a girl. This does not happen. Okay. This is like the first time a psychic has been wrong on the show. And then Lisa Vanderpump's grandmother broke in. Okay. Now remember at the dinner party from hell, Lisa wanted a reading. She was like, do you feel my grandmother? She kept asking Allison that. And Allison was like, I'm not here. I'm here on a girls' night and I'm not going to be doing all that. And Lisa was like really disappointed. And so Lisa's grandmother breaks in and says if Lisa hadn't been there for her, then her life wouldn't have ended so well, and that Lisa filled a huge gap for her. And she tells us that it's been 4 years since her grandmother died, and they had an agreement that if she passed on and there was any way that she could contact Lisa, she would always try to make contact with her. And then Rebecca says, your grandmother keeps mentioning Alice, and everybody is like, Alice, you mean Allison? And she's like, yeah, Allison. And everybody's laughing because apparently last year her grandmother was trying to get through to Allison, but Allison was ignoring it. And she says there was a lot of static energy and confusion that night. So her grandmother was trying to get through. And here's the thing. It's like, okay, well, did you just like watch the show? Like, this is not telling me stuff I don't know. Okay, so now she moves on to Taylor, who says Taylor's been to Rebecca before, and Taylor says, I know she can get pretty personal. And Taylor almost says that as if she's scared as to what Rebecca is going to say, because she knows that she can get pretty personal in her readings. And Rebecca says there are light spots and dark spots, something like maybe the mob that is involved in her relationship. Okay. And then she needs to find a comfortable space to live where everything's not about money. Okay, that's actually really interesting. The mob? Taylor tells us this isn't what she wants to hear, and especially when she's been working so hard to work things out in therapy. And then Rebecca says that Big Kathy is coming through, and there are a lot of rough spots because with her and Kim. And she says that Kyle was Kim's mother in a past life. And that's why their relationship is so strained, because Kyle always takes on a motherly role with Kim. But she can't be doing that because Kim will become resentful of her. And Kyle's like, yes, exactly. That's exactly what's wrong with us. I'm like, babe. I love this. I want to be a psychic. I want to go to a psychic. I want to be a psychic. I think I could be a brilliant psychic because I could just read people really well. Kyle says she struggles with that. And then now it's on to Camille. And Rebecca says that Camille's people are getting antsy. And her grandparents are not sad about her divorce. In fact, they're celebrating it. And that Camille didn't realize she was unhappy. So she needs to have a party when everything's all said and done so she can celebrate her new life. And her grandmother says that in the future, she will have a great man in her life who swings in the right direction. And everybody just gets a cackle about that. Again, I love the Kelsey slander. Let's more. I'm like Kylo Ren, more. Okay, so that's the seance. So not a lot happened. We got readings. Brandy went to a party and didn't fist fight anybody. So that's an improvement. And I think a good time was had by all. Taylor did not confront Lisa. So that's a missed opportunity. Now we go to the last scene of the episode. And Kyle is driving over to Kim's house because she's packing up to move. And Kyle's like, what's the big secret? What is going on here? And Kim says, do you really want to know? And basically talking about how, you know, everybody, her kids are like kind of moving on. And so she's ready to make a big change. And so Kyle's like, are you moving out of state? And Kim's like, no, I need you to know that there's something I've been keeping private, but I've been seeing someone for about a year. And Kyle says, well, was it that guy that you brought to Paris's premiere? And Kim's like, yes. So they've met, but I don't know. And Kim's like, well, we're moving in together. And so Kyle is like trying to fake a smile, and she's like, well, why did you keep it secret? So Kim was like, well, I wanted to see how things went first, which I think is I think that's reasonable when you're early into a relationship, but a year at some point. And I guess the thing is, like, at a year, like, that's when they were not talking. I don't know. This seems so weird. And also, like, does Kathy know? You know, do her kids know? What do her kids think about this guy? That's also my biggest thing. And I get it that she's, I just spit. I get it that she's like, oh, my kids are getting older, so I don't need to think about them anymore. I can think about myself and what I want to do. And I understand that. I mean, that's a transition to a new life stage. Like, yes, everybody's going to go through that. But to keep it secret from your sister for a year, even if you were fighting, I don't know. It's just like so strange. And like also, irregardless of everything I said about him, imagine how that feels for him to be like, yeah, my girlfriend kept me secret because she doesn't think her family is going to like me. That's hurtful, right? So, Kyle says, you know, I want to see you happy, but I also wanted you to move closer. And I feel like you're going to go farther away. She starts tearing up and she's like, are you sure you want to move in with this guy? I feel like you're rushing and not thinking about it. Kim says, this is my choice. And Kyle goes, well, I don't even know him. And Kim's like, well, you'll get to. You know, for a long time, I've done things for my kids, for mom, for everyone else. I haven't been able to do things for me, and now I just want to do things for me. And Kyle tells her about the psychic saying that, you know, oh, I was your mom in a past life, so that's why we have this kind of strained relationship. And Kim says, I want you to be happy for me. And Kyle tells us that she thinks Kim is lonely, and she's making the decision based on that. And she's bringing in Kyle to meet this guy, and Kyle says, you know, I don't know, because I really feel like if you're that happy and you're so in love with someone, you're going to want to like share it with everybody in your life. Basically, like, you're going to want to shout this from the rooftop. You're going to want to post it. You're going to want to introduce him to everybody. But you've been keeping this a secret for a year, and now you're all of a sudden moving in with him. So the very end of this episode is Kyle and Kim going into the house because apparently they're going to meet Ken. And then it's like a cliffhanger. Like, it's not that big of a cliffhanger. We've already met him. But Kyle is correct. It's like, if you're truly like happy and in love, you're skipping and you're not acting strange for months and then hiding a relationship. You know? I don't know. Their dynamic is so strange. But thank you for listening. We'll pick that up in the next episode. As always, if you're loving the show, please give me a rating review. Don't forget to recommend me to a friend that you think that likes Housewives. Follow me on my socials. You can search for the hashtag Obsessed by Everything Bravo and you'll find it. TikTok and Instagram. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.